to another episode of the Movie Brothers. I'm Ant. This is Kev.
Excelsior, ladies and gentlemen, as my man Stan Lee would say.
That's comic book lingo, y'all. And that leads us into the film that we are reviewing for you today, which is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This film is rated PG-13, has a runtime of 2 hours and 22 minutes, and is an action adventure. In this film, we find Peter Parker as he continues his day-to-day life as a high school graduate while battling the continued shady activities of Oscorp and keeping the streets of New York City safe.
Yeah, this movie was directed by Mark Webb, who brought us The Amazing Spider-Man Part 1. He also is responsible for the romantic comedy 500 Days of Summer, which stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which also garnered critical acclaim. This movie stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Jamie Foxx, Paul Giamatti makes a guest appearance, Dane DeHaan, and Sally Field. What do you say we take a look at the trailer?
Let's do it.
Every day, I wake up knowing that the more people I try to save, the more enemies I will make. And it's just a matter of time before I face those with more power than I can overcome.
What is all this?
The future.
We literally can change the world.
What about Peter?
Not everyone has a happy ending.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as the comic book aficionado between the two of us, I have a long-standing history with the source material. I was a huge Spider-Man fan when I was a kid. Growing up, I've read all the comic books. I collect comic books. So I had a feeling where this movie was going to go from a thematic wise, and I wasn't disappointed. Things pretty much worked out and happened exactly how I thought they would. I thought Mark Webb did a really good job with this film. It's not perfect, but there are things that really worked well.
Okay, so I would be the non-comic book aficionado, which I am perfectly okay with. And Kev, I couldn't disagree with you more in terms of this film and the work that Mark Webb has done. I have not been impressed at all. And Sam Raimi did the Spider-Mans back in the early 2000s. No, they're not Oscar-winning performances, Kev, so just relax. But I felt like, in my personal opinion, they were better than what Mark Webb has been doing with the Amazing Spider-Man 2s. And I grew up...
I prefer my Spider-Man to be less emo, but go ahead.
I come from the generation watching the cartoons from the 60s and the 90s of all of the comic book characters, and I'm used to seeing lots of action. You deem your film action adventure. I want to see action adventure, and I didn't get enough of that.
This film is smart, okay? This film is smart, and I enjoyed that. I think that he channeled his 500 Days of Summer sensibilities into this film, and we have a study of loss. Every single character in this film has to deal with loss in some kind of way, whether it be Gwen Stacy and her father, whether it be Peter and his parents, whether it be Aunt May and Uncle Ben. I could go on and on and on. Every single one of these characters has lost somebody or something, and they are struggling to figure out how to deal with that. And I think that this movie addresses that in a very smart way.
Well, Kev, you can write your dissertation on loss and studying that of comic book characters. But for me, when I go see a comic book film like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I want to see action adventure. This is Spider-Man. This isn't on Golden Pond. And yes, that is a point. Yes, they are experiencing that loss, but there was way too much drama going on in this film and not enough action. There's a balance.
This is the man who slept through the first half of Batman Begins because Batman wasn't in it.
Who told you that, Kev? Not true. I thought Batman Begins was great. I actually enjoyed it. But, the thing, again there, y'all, there's a balance. And we didn't get enough of that.
Okay. I appreciate the fact that comics have grown up and that these films are attempting to convey that same sentiment. These movies are showing us the angst and the difficulties of being a superhero, what it's really like to be a superhero. All right, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that. I really do, because that's what the comics are doing for us these days as well. The acting in this film. Let's address the acting in this film. I thought that the acting was top notch across the board, with the exception of your boy Jamie. You know, he was channeling too much of that character that you referenced from The Soloist, and he had a little too much Jim Carrey from Batman Forever in him as well. Those of you who are unfortunate enough to have seen that movie will know exactly what I'm talking about when you see this. But I thought that the chemistry between Andrew and Emma was very strong, and I thought that they carried the film.
No. Sally Field, I thought, bravo, she did a great job. I mean, she's a beast, so she did her thing.
Oh, yeah.
Emma Stone was good as well. But beyond those two, you can pack them all up, including Garfield,
No,
who
Garfield
I know
was
you
great.
love, Kev. But
He was great.
I
He
thought
is
he
Peter
was.
Parker.
I thought he was terrible. Paul Giamatti, he was in there, and Jamie Foxx, and yes, the soloist character, Nathaniel. You know, the guy who's living on the streets and is a violinist or whatever with the horrible comb over. That's who Jamie Foxx channeled in this film, and
Until he became Electro, and then he became interesting. Okay.
it did not go off well, needless to say. So, was not feeling that either.
I thought the visual effects were really well done in this film. For a movie with so much going on, Mark Webb frames these shots where you always know what's going on, even in the midst of all the action. I know that, Ant hates CGI, and you can't make this film without a heavy dosage of CGI. But the bottom line is that, the CGI is integrated into the film very well. From my perspective, I thought they did a very good job.
Not at all. I don't hate CGI. I mean, like you said, Kev, I mean, there's some things that you can't even do, without it. So I recognize that there's a time and a place for it. And we just recently saw Captain America and saw it done beautifully. So no problem with it. But in terms of the visual effects, they were, par for the course. I've seen it before. Nothing that stood out to me, but it was what it was.
All right.
I know, Kev. I didn't just hate your little Spider-Man movie.
Mark Webb has created a universe that sets up a future path. I mean, it's a much broader world that he sets up. We get the feeling that there are other characters in this universe that are going to come into play, such as the Sinister Six, which we get a vision of in this particular movie. Those of you who know comic books know what I'm talking about. Ant is clueless right now.
And there are millions of other people with Ant that have not read one comic book. And when you put out a international movie like this, trust me, there are millions and millions of people that don't read comic books. So,
all right,
that's
you ready
what
to put
is.
some points on this, Ant?
Let's do it.
All right, go ahead, man.
All right, so, hey, Marvel, you guys take one step forward and two steps back. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, y'all, is a step back. Not feeling this at all. I think that Marvel needs to take some notes from DC Comics. And as a matter of fact, just to share with you a couple of examples, and these are straight to DVD, DC Universe, DC comic movies: Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths, Batman, Year One. Mind you, plenty of drama in these films as well as action. Superman, Doomsday, okay? And before you ask, no, you can't borrow my DVDs because you ain't gonna return them, including you, Kev.
All right, I am a DC guy.
Can I even put I didn't even put my points on this film. 4 out of 10. Don't do it.
Hayden, okay? The level of hatred coming from this man right now is just, I'm just perplexed by it. I'm a DC guy, okay? I am a Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. I love DC Comics, okay? Above and beyond my love for Marvel. I like Marvel too, but I'm a DC guy. So I understand where you're coming from. And I too have an appreciation for these. I've read the source material that they all come from, but I think that Marvel, when it comes to their film properties, they have it together in a way that DC and Warner Brothers has not been able to pull it together yet. And maybe, with the announcement of the Justice League coming to us in a year or two, maybe they'll get their act together as well. I give this movie an 8 out of 10.
All right. Who you gonna go with? 8 out of 10, 4 out of 10. But there you have it. Before we close the show, we just want to remind you guys, hey, we would love to hear from you in terms of just the format of how we do the show. If it's topics or things you want us to address or cover, we would love for you to share that with us, and we would just like to dialogue and interact with you. Thank you to those who do comment. As you see, we do respond, and so we appreciate that. And if you want to do that, you got 2 ways to reach out to us. You can subscribe to our channel on Facebook. Just search The Movie Brothers.
Or you can hit us up on Twitter at The Movie Brothers. We're big boys. We can take it.
Yes, we can. All right. There you have it. We are The Movie Brothers. I'm Ant. This is Kev.
Excelsior!
Yeah. Okay. This is the place where we bring you nothing but the real on the real. Peace.
Deuces.